it is time to talk Champions League right now. And we will get to some of the desperate situations that some of the teams already find themselves in. But first, we'll talk the positive stuff. We'll welcome in right now Ryan O'Hanlon, one of our writers with ESPN to do so. Ryan, thanks so much for being with us. Now, last time you were with us, we asked for your top 10 of the teams that we're seeing in the Champions League this season. I wonder if after the first 2 match days, anything has been revised from your part.
Yeah, you don't want to overreact too much. And I think I had Manchester City as number one. So I think I probably would have had them as number one, I don't know, for the past 5 seasons coming into the Champions League. After that, I think I would drop Bayern down a little bit. I think I would have Real Madrid and Barca maybe as a tier below City as the next favorite. Then I'd probably have Bayern in their own tier after that. Then I think after that, it's kind of a glut of teams like maybe PSG, Arsenal, and then I think Newcastle and Inter. I'm very curious about both of those teams, kind of as, they're not quite dark horses, but teams that have impressed me both in the Champions League and outside of it, especially. They've both been crushing teams domestically.
We know, Ryan, you've got a keen eye when it comes to analytics. You've written a book about this as well. How do you decide then on this? It's obviously a big part of it's going to be the fact that you're a fan and you're watching these games and you decide from what you've seen and you're watching them in league play as well. But is there anything analytical that you look at in terms of this?
Yeah, I mean, it's the analytics kind of are meant to be used over a longer period of time, right? So looking at something like expected goals from just 2 games in the Champions League can kind of lead you astray a lot of the time. And then you have the issue, right, of like, let's say Barcelona's expected goals numbers look great so far this season in the Champions League, but they're also in a really easy group. While a team like, Newcastle or Dortmund have actually not super impressive expected goals numbers, but they're, playing in the toughest group in the competition. So I think the best way to do it is you kind of try to take an amalgamation of what you're seeing in the Champions League, what you're seeing in the league, kind of add it together, add in a little mix of what you saw, what your expectations were coming into the season, and go from there. So yeah, I think the farther you get into the season, the more you can kind of rely on the data as telling you something useful projecting forward. But now I think it's a little kind of mix of art and science, I guess.
What do you think, Janusz, with Bayern Munich maybe losing a bit of their spot in the power rankings of Champions League favourites right now?
Well, they may. I just, mind because Ryan had him in a glut. I mean, you remember my lucky call last season, but I'm staying with it. I mean, Inter for me are one of the favorites to be in the final again. Nothing has changed. And, I don't know about analytics. Well, I know that Inter are a tournament team. It's the same team, very well organized. They don't care how they play, how they win. We see that historically, all the way back to Jose Mourinho, and even now as well. I look what they do right now. It doesn't seem to be a problem without Lukaku, because Lautaro Martinez is having an unbelievable season already. He did have a great partnership with Lautaro Martinez, Lukaku that is, but Marcus Thuram comes in, and everywhere else it's that midfield, even without Brozovic, is absolutely incredible because of Barella and Mkhitaryan and Çalhanoğlu, same players, Dumfries and DiMarco on the other side, the back three with Pavard, maybe arguably actually better. In terms of going back to Bayern Munich, I always wait till February or March. On paper, this is a team that's capable. There are question marks about the relationship of Thomas Tuchel and Bayern players. That's the only thing that keeps me back from saying that Bayern, as always, are one of the favorites, because they, once you get there. With Inter, I suppose the one thing that, you look at schedule last season out of the group stages, they did have Porto and Benfica, which is not maybe the toughest route, but I think Man City, and I still like Inter very much. They'll get out of the group, no question in my mind. And after that, over 2 legs, boy, oh boy. I mean, I'd like to see teams that are going to easily get by them.
Now, the teams we've just been talking about are obviously in a much more favourable position than some, already coming into round 3 right now. Some desperate times for the likes of Manchester United, for Milan, for Borussia Dortmund, and pressure to get results right now. Who do you fear for right now, Ryan? Who needs to get what they need and 3 points on this round 3 of action?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Man U is the clear answer, given that they have 0 points through 2 games. They're currently 6 points back of the second spot in their group. but I almost feel less for them just because I feel like, I don't know, with each game, they're grinding out a lot of results in the Premier League, but not playing in a particularly inspiring way. So I feel like whether or not Man U gets out of the group, I don't know if, I don't really see them making a run if they do. While Milan, I think they like dominated Newcastle in the game that they drew 0-0, outshot them 25-6, 9 shots on target to Newcastle's 1. I think easily the best game anyone's played against Newcastle. The goals just didn't come. But they only got a draw out of that, and then they drew Dortmund. So to me, Milan has had kind of a weird season with a lot of good performances and then a lot of bad ones, including the game against Inter. But I think, to me, that they have a lot of potential to potentially upset a couple teams in the knockout rounds, but they've only gotten 1 point from from performances that I think deserve more than 1 point. So to them, I guess in terms of feeling for a team, I would say them as a team that they need to sort of find a way to get their results to match the performances.
What about Borussia Dortmund then as well? Because obviously they've got to get some goals, Ryan.
Yeah, I sort of look like Dortmund just doesn't impress me. They need to turn it around, right? But I don't. With them, it's almost like they have a lot of the all the prospects that they usually have, but these prospects it's not the same level of talent that I think we're used to their young players having. So Dortmund does need to turn it around, but to me, I look at Milan and they're almost more of a Dortmund team with all of the young talent they have, and they've at least shown kind of the high gear of what it can be. While Dortmund, it's been quite poor through 2 games.
Yeah, obviously we're very much looking forward to see how things play out. Now we'll be at the halfway point in the group stages, and Ryan, we'd love to hear from you in a few more rounds, I'd say, just to get a better gauge of everything that's going on right now in the Champions League. But thanks so much for being with us.